Who would pay these tariffs? Americans or foreign countries?
Do you believe that these tariffs are a consumption tax increase? China will build 100 new coal plants this year. There is not a clean energy race. China will build 10 nuclear plants this year.
Donald Trump, with no plan and no strategy, says he's going to put across-the-board tariffs, blanket tariffs on all imported goods, which means that our workers and our small businesses are going to get clobbered with additional taxes on practically everything they buy from other countries. My question here is, who would pay these tariffs? Americans or foreign countries?
So this, Senator Wyden, just to understand, so I can frame the answer correctly, do you believe that these tariffs are a consumption tax increase?
I believe these tariffs, you can call it whatever you want in terms of trying to gussy it up. They're going to be paid for by our workers and small businesses. And all through the campaign, we heard they weren't, that foreign countries were going to pay it. I think that's baloney. It's going to be paid for by workers and small businesses. So, your response?
Yes, Senator, I would respectfully disagree. And the history of tariffs and tariff theory, optimal tariff theory, does not support what you're saying. Traditionally, we see that the current, if we were to say use a number that has been thrown around in the press of 10%, then traditionally the currency appreciates by 4%, so the 10% is not passed through. Then we have various elasticities, consumer preferences may change. And finally, foreign manufacturers, especially China, which is trying to export their way out of their current economic malaise, they will continue cutting prices to maintain market share.
Okay. That's an academic view of it. But what I know is the history of this is it clobbers people of modest means. They're the people who are going to get hit. And all through the campaign, there was a big show that it was going to be paid for by foreigners. Not so. That is about the legislation that was written in this room that was the biggest transformation on clean energy in American history. That is our package that basically said the tax code as it relates to energy is a broken down mess. And we basically said we're going to have a technology neutral system. The more you reduce carbon, the bigger your tax savings. Now there is a big effort in the Trump administration to reverse it. I think that's going to be bad for the economy, but it is going to be damn good for China because we are in an arms race on clean energy with them. Are you going to be on the side of people who want to unravel this?
Senator Wyden, just so we can frame this for everyone in the room, China will build 100 new coal plants this year. There is not a clean energy race. There is an energy race. China will build 10 nuclear plants this year. That is not solar. I am in favor of more nuclear plants. And I would note that the IRA, as scored by the CBO, is wildly out of control in terms of spending on the upside.
Well, first of all, the clean energy package does protect nuclear because members on both sides of the aisle in this room wanted it to be that way. But if you're going to talk about fossils, the United States has achieved a greater level of energy security than we've had in generations. Oil and gas production is at record highs. And it's not just that, but it's about clean energy. And I'm very troubled by your position denying that we're in an arms race with China on clean energy, because we definitely aren't.
Appropriately mentioned China as one of our biggest challenges. While I believe in free and fair trade, we know that some countries, principally the PRC and the Chinese Communist Party, don't play by the rules. Over the years, by some estimates, U.S. investments in Chinese companies have totaled $2.3 trillion in market value. That was at the end of 2020. That included $21 billion. These are American companies investing in China. $21 billion in semiconductors, $54 billion in military companies, and $221 billion in artificial intelligence. So it's pretty clear to me that U.S. investments have fueled China's economic growth, which has allowed them not only an increased standard of living, which is great for the Chinese people, but problematically, it's also allowed them to modernize their military and now threaten the peace in the Indo-Pacific and beyond. As we discussed, I've introduced a bill that would require transparency of American companies investing in China. And of course, the entity that would receive the reports from American companies that do that, and since it's strictly a reporting requirement, would be Treasury. What's your view of an outbound investment transparency requirement?
Senator Cornyn, I believe that, as we discussed in your office, this is a very important issue. That the Chinese economy is the most unbalanced economy in the history of the world. They are using their surpluses to fund their military machine in China, and I'm not going to try the Mandarin pronunciation for the sake of everyone in the room, but there is a phrase that is two words: military industrial, and military always comes first. So we should understand that, and that we should have a very rigorous screening process for, as you identified, anything that could be used in AI, in quantum computing, in surveillance, in chips, that the U.S. has the lead, and we must make sure that we maintain it through smart policies such as you and I discussed.
The future of direct file. This is the program that helps our people who choose it to save hundreds of dollars when they file their tax return. Last year, the IRS launched it. It was enormously popular among taxpayers, but of course, the tax software giants and their big lobby just hate it. They want to shut it down. Now, the filing season starts January 27th, so it opens in 10 days, and millions of taxpayers around the country have already been notified that they are going to be eligible to use direct file this year. So I won't do this for every question, but I'd really like a yes or no on this one. Will you commit to keeping direct file up and running if you're confirmed?
I will commit that for this tax season, that direct file will be operative, and the American taxpayers who choose to use it will. And if confirmed, I will consult and study the program and
I appreciate the answer. It means that taxpayers are going to save, who choose to use it because it's voluntary, hundreds of dollars, and we'll have a chance to see once again how popular it is with practically everybody except the tax prep software crowd. And I already made it clear, and you and I talked about this. I'm for a tax code that gives everybody the opportunity to get ahead. You and I talked about my friend Bill Bradley. He and I have been working for this for years. Do you believe the tax code should treat wages differently than it treats wealth?
Look, in any tax system that advantages and creates distortions, it is a change that, Senator, it is a decision that was made when the tax codes were written. And so every tax code involves the trade-offs and distortions in favor of other the gains.
It sounds to me like you do believe that it's fine to treat wealth more favorably. I couldn't disagree more. The idea that a dollar earned by a hedge fund manager has more value than a dollar earned by a teacher or a factory worker, I just think it's a disconnect with the American people.